Welcome to Learned Bee Academy. We're going to be starting a new series titled The Professional Journey with Debbie. I am Deborah Arono and I am going to be your host. So you decided to start ICAN. First of all, congrats. You're about to enter into a different kind of grind. But here's the thing, most people start ICAN blind. They don't know what to expect, how to study, or where to even begin. That's why I'm starting this series, to save you from the mistakes I made.
Hi guys, this is the first video of this series, and if there's anything you'd like us to cover in this series, can you please leave a suggestion for us in the comment section? We'll be there to take your suggestions. Thank you.
When I started my ICAN journey, I had so many questions. What should I read? Should I read the study packs cover to cover? Should I solve past questions? How should I balance it with my school life? And because of that, ICAN was making me lose my mind. I honestly didn't always get it right. I failed, I adjusted, and I kept going. I'm actually still going right now. So if you've ever felt that same confusion, trust me, you are not alone. In this video, I will give you the complete starter pack for ICAN, the things I wish someone had told me before I started, what to expect, the right mindset, the best resources, and a smart study approach. If you stick with me to the end, you will have a clear map on how to start strong. So first of all, we're going to start with the expectations. What are we supposed to expect? Then we're going to go into the right mindset, the mindset you're supposed to have, and then we go to what are the best study approach. So all right, let's start with expectations. Honestly, being sincere, ICAN is not like your normal school examination. If you're a university student or even if you've just finished secondary school, you wrote WAEC, it is not like your normal school exam, whatever it is. You get, even like depending on the stage you start with. If you start with ATS, you just finish WAEC. ATS is not like your normal school exam. It's not as hard as ICAN, but we know, you get. So the volume of material that you have to read will overwhelm you. You will feel like you never finish. But here's the reality, you don't need to master everything at once. You just need a smart approach and consistency. And if you follow this video, I will show you how. The truth is, it is a marathon and not a sprint. The syllables are big, the study packs are heavy, and yes, at some point, you'd feel like you're drowning in those topics that you don't even like. So here's the good news. You're not expected to know everything, basically. ICANN is testing your ability to apply your concepts, not just vomit definitions, especially if you're doing things like you're reading for things like your financial reporting or your CSME as at then. But as at the new syllabus revision, there's no CSME anymore. But still, ICANN requires you to be able to apply the concepts you get. So you don't need to start drowning in what this definition says or what this definition doesn't say. So that means you can actually be strategic with your time. That's what I'm actually going to show you. So in this series, I'm going to show you different ways to be strategic with your time and study smart. For you to be able to know all I can expect from you, the best advice is to look at past questions. Study in For the ICAN professional, it is called the Pathfinder. For the ATS level, I think it's called the Insights, right? So you should have to look at past questions. So you have to look at past questions, study years. If you read a topic, go through that past question and see what are the kind of questions ICANN is going to test from this particular topic. You can't just stick to reading the pack alone. You can't just stick to solving the examples in the pack alone. You have to know the kind of questions that ICANN is going to ask you for, basically. Next thing we're going to talk about is mindset. Let me be very honest with you. The biggest enemy you face in your ICANN journey is yourself. Literally, like sometimes you won't get to the point that people will be telling you, go and read now. And you yourself, you know you are supposed to be reading. You know yourself, you're supposed to be going to the class, but you just can't bring yourself to do it. That's when the enemy in yourself begins to reflect. So that is basically the biggest enemy that you're going to face in your ICANN journey, yourself. You're going to deal with self-doubt, comparison with others, and even burnout. Like, it can be crazy. Like, you just begin to doubt yourself. Maybe you finish reading a topic and then you go and look at the class question and you begin to ask yourself, did I really read this topic at all? Like, what's going on here? Like, what's happening? Like, you get. So, or burnout, or when you or comparison with others, you see someone telling you that I finished reading FR and I covered the pack. I'm like, Wait oh, are we not both writing the exam? Me, I'm just in my first topic. So that comparison alone can overwhelm you. Like you won't even know what to do next because you have looked at this person and this person has already read a lot, and you looking at yourself, you know or more, you don't really sabi anything to get. So comparison can actually really bring you down. Another thing is burnout. When you don't actually plan or manage your time properly, it can actually affect you and make you develop self-doubt. Right. So burnout is when you are overwhelmed, basically, you're not managing your time, you're overwhelmed, and you're just tired at some point, you're just like, oh, this I can will not kill me. Oh. Abeg, let me go and rest. It's no be only me the write exam. Na person wey dey alive go write exam. Na wetin you go just tell yourself. You get. So you have to be able to cope with those burnouts, basically. So those are the things. I've been there. Like I've failed papers, and I genuinely thought that maybe ICAN was not for me. But failing didn't mean I was dumb. It just meant I needed to switch my approach. So you need to go into ICAN with the right mindset. ICAN is not about perfection. Like even when you are solving, like when before I started writing ICAN, I was that accounting student that if I was solving any statement of financial position, I always wanted my stuff to balance. Like if it did not balance, I'm not leaving that place. I'm not standing up from that place. You get? I always wanted my statement of my trial balance, whatever it was, to balance. You get? But going into ICAN, I learned that ICAN is not about perfection. Just know what you're doing and then manage your time wisely. So if you do and you didn't do, you move on to the next one and make sure you leave enough points there, enough things there to generate you points and marks. So it's about being persistent. If you fail, you get back up. And if you are slow, you keep moving. So it's not about how many topics your friends have covered. It's not about if this person has finished reading FR and you've not finished reading, or this person has finished covering how many chapters in PM and you've not. It's not about that, basically. It's about how you are able to manage yourself. So even if you feel like you are running slow, even if you feel like I've been trying to get this topic for like 3 weeks now. As long as you keep going, as long as you keep going, you might be lucky enough and that topic you were struggling, you took like 3 weeks to learn and you perfected will be your number one question. It might be just be that lucky. You get. So it's not about going slow, it's about be persistent. It's about the fact that you still move on no matter how slow or no matter how slow it might be. So it's not about perfection. What really matters is consistency, and that's how people pass. There are people that pass ICAN once sitting and they pass all their 5 or 4 papers or 6 papers. But it's not always like that for everybody, truthfully speaking. It wasn't like that for me. It was like that for me my 8 years ago. When I got to ICAN, it really taught me a lesson, and I learned that it was not really about perfection as long as I keep moving and I'm able to deal with failures. So now let's talk about resources. Now this is a very like a question I get asked a lot, that because I'm currently in my last stage of ICAN. I have 2 more papers left, and people ask me like, how did you study for your skills level? How are you studying for your profession? How did you study for your professional first stage? How did you pass case study? What are the things you did? Who are the people you used? What online classes did you use? What physical classes did you attend? People usually ask this stuff a lot. So this is the resources. Let's talk about resources, because this is where people waste a lot of time. The ICAN study packs, they are useful, but if you try to read them word for word, you will never finish. Or speaking for people like me, because I know people that read their study pack 3 times before the exam, 3 times, 4 times before the exam. I've heard of people do that. But speaking for somebody like me, I've never in my entire never in my professional journey, even the ATS diet, even the ATS diet where I passed once, I never actually finished reading my pack. It was not about finishing reading the pack for me. It was just about understanding and practicing questions for me. So speaking, if you're someone like me that reading is that you rather learn through videos and then practice the past question, I'll say that's the best way to go. But there are some courses that you know that you need to read those study packs, right? When it comes to case study, for you to fully understand those how to write a report, basically you need to read those study packs. But not all the time. There are also good people that I can recommend that help for case study and for other courses. So as I was saying, if you read them word for word, you never finish. Instead, use them as a foundation. So use your ICAN study pack to know the kind of the parts of the topic or the things in the topic that is required of you to understand. They are, as you read the study pack, you notice that they begin to say things like, especially if you're reading for skills, you now see things like, this is not examinable in this level, it will be further examinable in the next level, or this one was previously examined, so it will not be examined in this level. There are just things you take note of, so you don't overread and read amiss basically. So you have to use the packed as a foundation, and then always pair up your pack with the past question. Hey guys, so before we continue this video, can you take a second to like this video, subscribe, and leave a comment for us? For me personally, the route I take is I watch a video on it, or I learn it in a center. I read the pack and then I practice questions, right? So if you are taking classes, if you are taking classes for your ICAN, if you go there and then a new topic is taught, or sometimes they give you a timetable of the topic that is going to be taught and when. So you can either choose to read that topic in the pack beforehand and then go for the class and then they explain it more to you. I feel like that's the best way actually. If you are very busy, maybe you can go for the class first, and then when you after the class you go back to the topic and then you begin to take notes, because it's not everything they will teach you in class. There are some important things that they might miss out, or they are trying to run at a speed and change the next topic. So to them, they feel like I've already covered the meaningful parts, but it might not be that other part that you need to learn to perfect yourself. So like it's always best to learn it somewhere, go through the pack and know what is required of you. Then pair it up with past questions. Do you get? The pathfinder is always there for you. Like analyze your years. What are the kind of questions that come out for this particular topic? What are the kind of questions like, this is the way I can ask this here, but they ask it this other way in this other year. Do you get? Right? So those are the kind of things that will help you align yourself properly. On top of that, get summary notes. So depending on the classes you are taking, some tuition centers actually provide summary notes for their students, right? So depending on that, or you maybe it's best if you don't have access to that, you can make your summary notes so that you know when it's getting closer to the exam and you've read some certain topics already, to refresh your mind quickly. You can go over those study notes, because of what you read a month ago might not be as fresh in your mind. So you need those study notes to refresh yourself properly. And then another thing is, have a study group, have a coping group, have a group of friends that are also going through the same stuff that you are going through. If you are the only one in your friend group that you know that you're writing ICAN and you don't have any other person to ask questions, like you don't have any other person to like know how far you get, I won't say that is a good situation basically. So I feel like it's ideal for everyone writing ICAN to have a study group. Don't necessarily you must not necessarily have to study together. No, but you can set goals together. It can just be you and one other person. It can be two people, it can be three people. You can set goals together. Okay, you guys, let's read FR this week. I feel like that way it will encourage you, it will bring out, because sometimes if someone like me now, I work with unfortunately, I mean, I work best when there's something, when it's a competition, when there's something at hand, basically. So if I wanted to motivate myself to read, I would just like, guy, let's read this chapter to this chapter in auditing this week. But by the end of the week, we just ask ourselves questions. We must be done by the week. If we're done, whoever is not done will buy the other person a drink or something like that. So when there's something at hand, I work best for someone like me, right? So that way it can help motivate you. So having a study group, you must not study together, you can just plan your ways together. And even if you don't decide to study together, the fact that the other person is just there, when you are feeling down and discouraged, you just ask the person, guy, I'm feeling down and discouraged, how far? And the person can even give you some words of encouragement to help you continue your journey. So have study groups and then follow trusted online tutors. So no matter, even if you already have a physical tuition center, which is actually very good, you can also have an online tuition center, because sometimes physical tuition center, they give you those intimate service depending on the premium you pay for. They are ones that you can actually message and then ask some questions. But then there are situations whereby, okay, they might have already covered this topic, or maybe you are not in a situation to ask that person immediately. So you can have like YouTube channels, good YouTube channels that that teach those particular topics. And by the way, I'm going to recommend some YouTube channels that helped me a lot in my ICAN journey. They teach those specific topics and they help me a lot. And I really love you to have them. So yeah. Anyways, so if you've watched this video up to this point and you're enjoying this content, I would love that you like this video, subscribe, and leave a comment asking us whatever question it is that you need us to answer in this ICAN starter pack series. Going forward, don't be afraid to invest in quality resources. There are good online resources that you can access, online tutors that you can access to help you perfect your journey, right? Think of it as just buying time, because the right resources can save you weeks of confusion, basically. And last but not the least, the smart study approach. It's not about studying hard, it's about studying smart. It's about reading the right way. People always tell me that, Debbie, I don't see you read as much. It's like you have a smart way of reading. You don't read as hard as other people, but you still get the same results. And to be honest, I'll be wondering that, what do you mean? Like, but true, I think there are some ways that you be able to read that will help you still attain the same result, even if you didn't read as much as some people. You get? So basically, it's about studying smart and not hard. You get? There are people that have passed ICAN papers without even finishing the whole pack, but they got the right understanding they needed to write that exam, and they read by direction. So now, let's talk about the study approach. This is where everything comes together. The mindset, the expectations, the right resources, it comes together at this point, because you can have all that. You can have the right mindset, the right expectation. You can have the good resources, and then you don't end up passing. And you must have read a lot, and to just be very sad, right? Well, the thing about ICANN is that you don't read passively, but you practice actively. This means that after every topic, test yourself with questions. If you're reading things like SFM, test yourself with questions. Also test yourself with the theoretical and the calculation aspect. One mistake that I made for SFM is focusing more on the calculation aspects without building myself on the theoretical aspects. And the exam came, and when the calculation aspect came out, they were not really the ones I knew. And then the theoretical aspect that I would have used to save myself, I didn't do properly. I probably didn't do well in that. But anyways, so test yourself with past questions. After reading a topic, after understanding a topic, test yourself. For FR, test yourself. That's something that helped me. That's something that helped me in my FR and my CR stage, right? Practicing questions, knowing how to answer those questions. Then create a schedule that fits your life. If you're working, it might be early in the morning or even late at night. If you're a student, maybe on the weekends will be best. The point is, you're meant to have a plan. This thing where they call, is it the Pomodoro rule or something like that? The Pomodoro, I'm not, can't really, where they say it's the 20-80 rule, right? Where you prepare 20% and you expect 80%. Well, I don't know if that rule works in all cases. I'm not saying that you should only read 20% of your textbook, no, right? But there's a way that you don't need to read everything, but you read some things, and even if it's just 20% of that textbook, you understand 80% of that textbook. You get? And then it can generate you an 80% result. When I was reading for my CSME during my CSME stage, I don't even think I read up to half of that textbook, but guess what? I got an 84. So you can do that too. And then the 60-40 approach. Spend 60% of your time studying a new topic and 40% of your time revising the old topics and solving past questions. That way, nothing ever gets stale in your head. That way, you begin to refresh things that you've read before easily. So there you have it, your ICAN study pack, the expectations, the mindset, the resources, and study approach, the smart study approach. If you keep this in mind, you already be 10 steps ahead of where I was when I started.